intoxicating about luxury. We've all felt it, even if only at a distance. You walk past a glossy boutique in Paris or Milan, the kind of shop with glass so clean you almost doubt it's there, and you catch a glimpse of something sitting on a pedestal under a perfect spotlight. Maybe it's a handbag, maybe it's a watch, maybe it's a pair of shoes that look less like footwear and more like an idea sculpted into leather. And for a moment, you want it. Not because you need it, not even because it makes sense, but because it whispers of elegance, of status, of being part of some secret club of people who don't just live life, they float through it. Luxury has always sold itself this way. The real product isn't the leather, or the stitching, or the gold clasp. It's the feeling that you too could belong to this world where nothing is rushed, nothing is ordinary, everything is effortlessly perfect. But here's the thing, that image, the dream, is only possible because the ugly part is hidden. And once you start looking at what lies behind the curtain, the sparkle begins to look a lot more like smoke. Let's take that handbag, the one with the 5-figure price tag, the one that looks like a piece of art you're not even sure should be carried down a rainy street. The story we're told is that this price reflects craftsmanship. The artisan in Tuscany who trained for decades, the precision, the heritage. You're not just paying for a bag, you're paying for excellence. Except excellence in this industry has layers. Yes, there are skilled artisans working in pristine workshops, but they're just one part of a much bigger and murkier ecosystem. Before that smooth piece of leather ever reached the hands of a master craftsman, it went through a journey in which luxury looks very different. In Tuscany, the so-called leather district, the process begins with raw animal hides, mountains of them, stacked and salted, then tossed into drums of chemicals that reek of rotten eggs. Hydrogen sulfide to strip away hair, chromium salts to keep the hides from rotting, hours of soaking, drying, softening, soaking again, dozens of stages, many carried out by subcontractors whose workplaces are less atelier and more industrial dungeon. The people working there? Often migrants, Senegalese men hauling 30-kilo hides in stifling heat, or temps with contracts so short they're technically disposable. Accidents happen often, more often to foreign workers than to Italians, according to internal data. And sometimes safety mechanisms are deliberately disabled to speed things up. This is the real foundation of the luxury leather trade. A pyramid where the top is a gleaming storefront in Paris and the bottom is someone in Santa Croce breathing in chemical fumes for barely enough to get by. And here's the kicker. The big brands all have codes of conduct. They say no illegal work, no unsafe conditions, no exploitation. They sign papers, issue statements, publish glossy sustainability reports. But when subcontractors are caught breaking every one of those rules, the system looks the other way. Because at the end of the day, the show must go on. The runway can't wait. Leather is one thing, fur is another. If leather's story is a tale of chemicals and hidden contracts, furs is closer to a horror film. For decades, the fantasy of fur was tied to notions of glamour. Marilyn Monroe in a mink stole, Hollywood elites in fox coats. Fur was marketed as natural, noble, timeless, a trapper braving the cold to bring back pelts. It had romance. The reality today? 70 million animals killed each year in China alone for fur, most of them bred in tiny cages stacked like battery farms. Rabbits crammed into filthy wire boxes, droppings piling beneath them, many sick, deformed, struggling to breathe, then slaughtered not with reverence but with ruthless efficiency, because fur isn't about necessity, it's about margins. When journalists traced an Italian brand famous for its coats, they found its Italian fur wasn't Italian at all. The rabbit jacket they bought in a Beijing mall came from Chinese farms via a maze of intermediaries. The company's official line, they only source from certified suppliers. But certification in this case doesn't mean happy rabbits hopping in green fields. It means little more than a rubber stamp that allows business to continue. Think about that the next time you see fur trim dangling from a luxury keychain. That fluff ball might have been a rabbit in a cage smaller than your microwave. Now you might think, surely someone's checking. Surely governments, inspectors, watchdogs keep an eye on this. Well, in theory, yes. In practice, not so much. In Tuscany, labor inspections have declined dramatically in recent years. Union complaints gather dust. Workers who protest can face retaliation. Not just being fired, but sometimes being beaten. And when NGOs publish damning reports, industry lobbyists rush to Brussels to discredit them as fake news. Luxury, it turns out, has powerful defenders. Not surprising, considering the stakes. We're talking about a global market worth hundreds of billions. Leather goods alone account for the majority of revenue for brands like Gucci or Saint Laurent. The margins are staggering. And when that much money is on the table, the system is designed to keep questions at bay. Here's the part that stings. All of this continues because it works. Luxury thrives not in spite of these revelations, but almost because of them. The more exclusive, the more untouchable, the more mysterious a product feels, the more we want it. We don't want to think about the factory in Santa Croce that smells like rotten eggs. We want the illusion of Florence vineyards, the master craftsman in a sunlit workshop. Now, we don't want to think about a rabbit with a tumor in a Chinese cage. We want the runway, the soft lining of a coat, the compliments at the cocktail party. Luxury is aspirational by design. It feeds on our desire for elevation, for escape. It says, you're not just you, you're you plus this. And that's a powerful drug. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When you strip away the marketing, luxury looks less like transcendence and more like exploitation with good lighting. This is where I want to step back from handbags and coats and talk about what this really means. Because luxury, in many ways, is just a concentrated version of the broader economy we all live in. Think about it. Almost every consumer product today, from the phone in your pocket to the sneakers on your feet, has a supply chain hidden from view. Someone mines cobalt in Congo under dangerous conditions so you can charge your phone. Someone in Bangladesh stitches your t-shirt for a fraction of a living wage. Someone in Guatemala picks your coffee beans while we sip flat whites in peace. Luxury isn't unique in being exploitative. It's unique in how it manages to make us forget. It doesn't just hide the dirty work, it transforms it into a performance. It sells us the dream so convincingly that we don't even think to ask questions. And in a way, we let it. We want to believe that beauty can exist without blemish, that craftsmanship can be pure, that elegance can be untouched by ugliness. Because if luxury is tainted, what isn't? So, where does this leave us? Should we boycott luxury altogether? Should we point fingers at anyone carrying a designer bag? Maybe, maybe not. The truth is, morality at the checkout counter is rarely black and white. But what we can do, what we must do, is refuse to be hypnotized, refuse to accept the illusion at face value. Start asking questions about what's behind the price tag. Start acknowledging that a dream built on hidden suffering isn't really a dream at all. It's just a well-packaged lie. Maybe luxury needs a reckoning. Maybe the next phase of true elegance is transparency. Imagine if a brand could say, yes, our workers are paid fairly, yes, our materials are sourced ethically, yes, our supply chain holds up under scrutiny. Wouldn't that be a luxury worth aspiring to? Because at the end of the day, what good is a handbag if you can't carry it without a shadow following behind? Luxury sells us beauty, status, belonging. It tells us that we're not just purchasing an object, we're buying into a story. But right now, that story has chapters written in chemicals, cages, and silence. The boutiques stay polished, the runway lights stay bright, the marketing keeps humming. But the truth smells more like rotten eggs than roses. Maybe it's time we stop asking whether that handbag is worth $5,000 and start asking who paid the real price for it. Until then, luxury will remain what it has always been, an illusion, an expensive dream we keep buying, even when we know better.